Okay, ready? Okay. Hello and welcome back to episode 3, where we are joined today by LooseHeadz Co-Founder Rob Shotton. Have I said that right?
You have.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
Can you?
Yeah.
You know your role on this podcast. I welcome them in, and then you start it off.
Yeah, but I find it a bit awkward. Like, so, middle aisle.
You've done really well the last two guests.
No, I know. Right, okay. Well,
Right.
I was going to say, how was the journey down?
If you start again, I will.
I don't think we needed to.
No,
Yeah.
I think we start again.
Start again, and I will then say, "Lovely to be here. What a lovely setup you've got," and then you can start going.
Thank you. Do you like lights?
Go.
You've lost me now, guys. You've lost me.
That was funny.
It was funny. Great content. Okay, can you do that again?
We don't need to do another cut.
Gwen. Oh. Well, tell my brain that people aren't. If I'm laughing when we start, people are going to be like, "Why?"
Yeah, true.
Okay. Hello and welcome back to episode 3, where we are joined by co-founder of LooseHeadz, Rob Shotton. Have I said that right?
You have.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Lovely setup that you've got here.
Thank you very much.
Not bad, is it? I like these
New
mic.
Yeah, really quite cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in the right position. It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That's yeah. How was the journey down today?
Yeah, it was good. I just moved over from London, so on the train, London Paddington, busyness, very very busy. But yeah, got a bit of work done on the way down, so yeah, all good.
Nice, dreamy.
Yeah,
good stuff. Oh, Ffion and Gwen.
We haven't done anything. Technical hitches today, guys.
Yeah, I know. Right. Well, how do we want to kick off? We can't. This all gets cut out. It doesn't have to be like smooth sailing the entire way through. Calm down.
I'm calm, Gwen.
Say talk to us a bit about the move from London, and then you can get into it from
there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. As in the move to London.
Can do.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that bit?
Babes, you know that you start. I intro, you start.
Yeah, I just did.
That's the flow. You need to calm down.
Or it's the World Cup stuff as well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So you've recently come back from the World Cup.
That's how you opened it last time.
Yeah, I know, but it flowed better last time because he'd literally just come back from the World Cup.
Yeah,
that's fine. I can. Yeah, I have.
Okay, yeah.
Back for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you start again?
Yeah, fuck it, from the top.
Come on, so.
Fucking hell.
We're straight into it this time. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hello and welcome back to episode 3, where we are joined by co-founder of LooseHeadz, Rob Shotton. Have I said that right?
You have. Well done.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's really good to be here, and it's nice to be in your new little setup.
Yeah.
Really quite cool in here.
Thank you very much. How was the journey down today from London?
Yeah, obviously just moved over to London from Bristol. So I've been in Bristol for sort of 8 years. Made the leap over to London. So yeah, very busy, very expensive, but enjoying it. And the travel down today was good. Yeah, on the train from Paddington. So yeah, good.
We were actually speaking off air about how your new found of Lidl, of Lidl, the middle aisle.
So yeah, you girls picked me up from the station this morning, and we drove past a Lidl, didn't we? And I said that my new supermarket of choice, because it's the one right near my house, is Lidl, and I am a massive fan of the middle of Lidl, but also the Lidl bakery.
Oh, this is a strong question coming up. What is your best pastry?
Oh, see, I pick up 2 cookies, one for the walk home and one for after my dinner.
Outstanding choice.
That's great. That's actually very good.
Have you tried a little cookie?
Of course I have, yeah. But I'm the brownies.
Yeah,
we actually had a question on our Instagram being like, what is your pastry of choice from Lidl?
Yeah, the brownie all day long. It's like
for me.
Gooey, delightful.
Yeah, they're incredible. I can't go past the Lidl bakery without picking something up as well. They're only like 40p as well.
I know, it's bargain.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels like you're not even spending any money.
Yeah. Maybe you should get Lidl, but not just Lidl, just the Lidl bakery to sponsor this podcast.
That would be. No, that would be
free cookies for everyone.
Speaking of pastries, just come back from France.
Yeah.
World Cup. Lots of croissants out there.
Yeah.
How was that? How was that experience living on a cruise ship?
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
That segue was unbelievable, by the way.
It's like in my head, I was
I was like,
clapping.
pastry, France.
That link was outstanding.
Yeah, obviously, Rugby World Cup been on recently, so yeah, I was out there, lucky enough to be able to go out there for 3.5 weeks and call it work, which was very, very cool. Obviously, living on a cruise ship, like you said, so thanks to Infinity Sports Travel, we were over there living on a cruise ship. It's weird living on a cruise ship for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. You get fairly fed up of the food quite quickly, but no, very, very cool. And thanks to Infinity for sort of having us out there and being able to get LooseHeadz, the message and the brand out there a little bit more, talking and spreading the message to as many people as possible around the world. So that was, yeah, very cool. We managed to get to 7 games. The best one, I think, was France-Namibia in Marseille. So 65,000 people singing the French songs. We tried to join in, but we don't really know our French too well. So yeah, no, it was good fun, really good fun.
Yeah, and you managed to get a bit of travelling in as well outside of France. How was that?
Yeah, so obviously being on the cruise ship, it was sort of docked in Marseille and Nice quite a lot of the time, but went over to Corsica, Ibiza, and then a little bit of Italy as well. So I managed to see Rome for the first time, which was very cool. Yeah, so a little bit of holiday within a work trip. So yeah, can't complain really. It was very cool.
You made quite a few puns on your Instagram when you were in Rome as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
When in Rome.
Yeah, when in Rome. What were the other ones?
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day.
There was a couple more.
All roads lead to Rome. Oh, was it?
It was funny.
There's the other one that everyone keeps talking about at the moment. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
That is funny. That, yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah, and I've heard that on a podcast actually, where they were like, they go and ask men, how often do you think of the Roman Empire? And women are like, what? And the men are like, oh, probably 2-3 times a week.
Yeah,
To be honest,
it's ridiculous.
when you said it, I was like, I don't get the joke.
No, I know. I
How
only
often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Never.
Are you thinking about it now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, because I don't know what it is.
What?
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Oh,
good
God.
Oh, goodness me.
Okay.
Right.
So,
Moving on from the little chat.
yes, let's move on. Obviously, in your intro, saying that you're co-founder of LooseHeadz. Just for people that may not have heard of LooseHeadz, do you mind just giving a bit of background on what that is and how important that is to you?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, yeah, LooseHeadz, rugby mental health charity, started it around about 6 years ago, just over 6 years ago now. It was a conversation at the end of a bar. All good rugby stories start at the end of the bar. I think you can sort of recite this, can't you, Gwen?
I can. Off by
Being
heart.
ambassador for the charity. But yeah, 3 of us sort of talking about our rugby stories, rugby journeys, as you do in our local rugby club, whilst watching the Lions tour, actually. And more importantly, it was about the people that we met along the way. We'd all had mates that had what we described back then as a bit of a life bubble, and we felt like we couldn't really do anything positive for those mates of ours, other than tap them on the back on the back and just say, you'll be all right, things will be all right, things will get better. And that just wasn't good enough. That impotence that we felt drove us to form what is now called LooseHeadz. The more we dug around, the more that we realised that there wasn't anything happening in the space of rugby or in sport. So that's where it sort of was, the idea was born. 2 things we sort of realised when we first started. One of those is that because we aren't the experts ourselves, we're 3 normal blokes. We're still 3 normal blokes, but we couldn't really get into the cure space. So what we do is we work within what we call the LooseHeadz Square, which is prevent, promote, educate, and signpost. They're the sort of 4 key pillars that we live within. The other thing that we realised pretty much straight away is that nobody wants to talk about mental health. It's just, it's one of those things. It's something that you bring up that in a conversation and people tend to run a mile. And what we're trying to do is use rugby as that vehicle to drive and open up the conversation. You'll know this, but rugby is that sport that has a lot of togetherness, the camaraderie, and I like to call it the clubhouse feel. You walk into any clubhouse in the world. We're talking about France. I went and visited a grassroots rugby club in Marseille, and you're welcomed in. You instantly feel as part of that family and that community. So what we wanted to do is marry up that sort of togetherness and community feel of rugby with doing something positive in the mental health space. So the mission statement is a fairly bonkers mission, but it's to place a mental health lead at every rugby club in the world. Bonkers, but we're currently working now with, we just hit 920 rugby clubs in 20 different countries.
That's
so
amazing.
yeah, that's what we're trying to do. That's LooseHeadz. That's where it sort of started, and that's the mission that we're on.
Yeah, and those mental health leads, obviously, I think there's a key thing there around education.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been huge to grow my own knowledge within the space of mental health, because up until about a year and a half ago, I didn't even understand that everyone had mental health. And I genuinely mistook the difference between mental ill health and mental health. And again, didn't understand that it was something that everyone has and that can fluctuate in a day, in a week. And people go through bad periods and good periods of mental health. So for me, the education has been outstanding in terms of what LooseHeadz have given me, because I actually understand that a lot more. And bringing that into rugby clubs, what does that mean for their mental health lead, and how does that then branch out into the community and into the rugby club?
Yeah, absolutely. No, spot on there with the education. It's been a big part of our journey, if you like, as well. I think educating people that everybody has mental health. 1 in 4 people in the UK struggle with their mental health each year. So we need to know what the difference is between mental health, which is what we all have, it fluctuates, and then mental ill health, which is where depression, anxiety sort of creeps in. And yeah, I think in terms of how we're working with rugby clubs, so the 920 rugby clubs, that's where we sort of place a mental health lead. That's someone in the rugby club that is already there, that will stick their hand up. We all know who that is in our own sort of grassroots rugby club, that will chuck their hand up and do absolutely everything. But it's then our job to give that person the education, the insight, the right confidence to be able to promote mental health within their own club and their own community. So we give them access to a toolkit. That toolkit is free. We want that toolkit to be free and accessible for everybody in the rugby community. And within that toolkit, there's a load of different components. So things like mental health training, access to a wellbeing check-in platform, signposting content, talking groups, and a text line service as well. And what we're trying to do more of now, whilst we saw quite a lot of our growth in lockdown and the COVID period, we tried to make this open for absolutely everyone. So we put quite a lot of things online. So what we're trying to do more of in the next sort of 6 to 12 months is actually have feet in the ground, going into rugby clubs and actually delivering these sessions and presentations. And it comes back to that education piece. But also it's all about normalizing the conversation as much as possible and opening up the conversation to make it as normal as it would be talking about physical health. People talk about physical health, they talk about what they do to sort of help themselves physically. So they might be going for a walk, going for a run, going to the gym, getting out in nature. It's exactly the same for mental health or mental fitness. So I like to call it mental fitness as well, because there is such a stigma attached to that term, mental health. Mental fitness means exactly the same thing. So if we can try and change the dialogue a little bit, hopefully that'll start to normalize it a little bit more as well.
And why do you think then, obviously it can be your opinion, but there's a stigma around talking about mental health? Because, like we spoke about this morning, Gwen, around as females, we're so much more open to speaking about if we're having a bad day or we're struggling, like we're very open about our emotions. But why do you think that stigma is with men? Like you said, it was a conversation you had at a bar with, you're knowing that you had friends or family that was struggling, but weren't being open about it. And why do you think that, I suppose, men struggle a lot more about speaking about it than females?
Yeah, I think I liken it to like a coffee shop. So you walk into any coffee shop in the world, you've got the women who are there that are laughing, sharing, caring, joking around, crying, sharing everything, and you walk around the corner in the same coffee shop, and you've got a bloke sat there hiding behind his laptop trying to solve all the world's problems on his own. So yeah, there's definitely still a stigma, and it's mad to think that we can't talk about our feelings. And I think it's just because I think it comes back to, again, the education piece, but also I think it's just men just don't want to talk because of sort of generations gone by. The sort of they've got to put on that tough face and tough front. And I think if you liken it back to rugby, there's still quite a lot of people that will go onto a rugby pitch. It's a tough sport. It's a match. It's played by macho characters. People go onto the pitch and they put that brave front on, but when they come back into the into the changing room or into the clubhouse afterwards, they don't quite take that brave front off. And what we're trying to do is just make those transitions easier for people and players and coaches and staff, to just make it as normal as possible. It should be a normal conversation.
I think a big thing as well is almost having the awareness and the education in noticing the signs and symptoms of things like potential depression, anxiety, and that kind of thing. Because sometimes we can get so caught up in just, like, for example, in a sport like rugby, everyone just goes out, plays, you come back in, or do you want a beer? Like, things just are almost like you get stuck in the same sort of routine, I guess.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be hard to take a step back and just be like, actually, so-and-so's withdrawing from the group a little bit. Maybe I should check in with them. Like, I think actually having the awareness to notice those signs in people is something I think that as a sport in rugby specifically, we can get better at. Definitely.
Yeah, something that we've done with one of our partners, Talk Club, actually, is introduce sort of a check-in and check-out. So we did it at Old Pens Rugby Club, where you sort of you get round in a circle and you pass a ball around, and the person with the ball will speak, but you pass it around. Everyone has an opportunity to say a number, and you can say why you're feeling that number or not. But the simple question is, how are you out of 10? So you catch the ball, you answer the question, but then you give the number. It allows you to think about how you're feeling, but it also gives your teammates that opportunity that if that number is quite low, you can sort of gauge how your teammates are feeling and maybe approach that person. But what we're trying to do is give those people the right tools, the right insights to start those conversations with those people.
How has it been for you individually, of like what the impact of LooseHeadz has had on people? So I mean, we've seen some incredible stories of how, the amazing work that you've done has had an incredible impact on people. And how has that been for you?
Yeah, amazing. A conversation at the Enfield bar has led to some amazing success stories in the last couple of years. Dave and I took the big scary leap of faith into going full time around about 15, 16 months ago now. So it's a tough transition going from fairly secure job into taking the plunge, if you like, and trying to build your way up from there. But it means so much, and it's all worthwhile when you get the stories and the success stories that you hear from people that get in touch, and even more so in the last couple of months. So we've got 11 people with LooseHeadz tattoos now.
Oh, that's cool.
So this on there's some people with it on their thighs, some people on their wrists. But yeah, it's been pretty incredible. We definitely can't change our logo now. That's
I don't think there's need to. It's quite iconic.
No,
I think.
yeah.
Have you got a
You're
tattoo?
welcome.
I haven't, but
Have
I'm
you?
going to get one. I'm not booked
I've
in
not been
yet.
funny, but I've actually heard you say that for probably 6 months. 6 months he's been saying, I'm getting a tattoo, I'm getting a tattoo.
I know.
It's on camera now, so
I know. It's because I've been away in France, so
You could have done it out there.
I'm hearing excuses.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I need to get booked
We
in.
can go in after this if you want.
Gee, I've just given you a clip of my face there, by the way. You're clipping that up on
Right
social, 100%.
All right then, deal.
And then the other one that really blew me away and sort of shows the impact that we're having on grassroots rugby players, but also the rugby community as a whole, is we had a message from a 16-year-old girl around about February time this year. And she got in touch she said, I logged onto Instagram to say my final goodbyes to my friends, and I saw a LooseHeadz post about not giving up, and she got in touch to say thank you because you basically saved my life. And that for me just shows, when we first started this, we said that if we can help just one person, then this will all be worthwhile. So that's one message. We've had a fair few, and we've got people with those bonkers LooseHeadz tattoos as well. So yeah, it's really, really quite cool, and it gives us the energy, the enthusiasm to just keep going and keep doing more of the same.
It's incredible, the impact, and every time I hear you say that story, it gives me goosebumps, because you don't actually sometimes understand the actual impact that you can have until you receive a message like that, and it brings it home, and it, again, like you said, it gives you that energy to keep pushing forward. But having that level of responsibility out there in the world takes its toll on an individual, I can imagine. How do you, I know you mentioned about the big scary leap of faith going into full time with LooseHeadz. How did that affect you mentally, and how did you go about managing that, and what were your feelings around that?
Yeah, it's been, so the last 15 months been an absolute roller coaster. You chuck in a move as well, across the country, but yeah, it's been mad. So the first few weeks were a bit surreal because I own your own boss, so you're not you're not strict on like anything. So that was quite difficult, the transition. And then I work from home a lot of the time. I try and get out and about and do quite a lot of stuff, and try and get out at least once a week and work in a coffee shop just to sort of break it up a little bit. But the first couple of weeks I found tough because of the missing an office culture. And it's not necessarily working in an office, but it's just people, like connection with people. And I found that a little bit tricky, but bring it on a little bit further. And probably about 5 months ago, I had my own sort of mental health breakdown, I guess, where I didn't really talk about it as well. Practice what you preach, and I didn't.
That was my next question.
Yeah. I tell everyone, every day in my job, I tell them to talk about whether they're, about their feelings, and I bottled it up. And yeah, it was more the case we were sort of it was the runway, so LooseHeadz and the runway of LooseHeadz, sort of thinking, is this going to work? Do we sort of let me start that again. We start that all again.
Where do you want to go from?
Don't know. Ask me the question again.
That one, or practice what you preach?
Well, how did I go with that?
Because you started to go into, you were really good at, and then I think then you went.
Let's do that then, and I can say how was making the transition. Then I can do that, and then you can say,
do you practice what you preach?
Yeah.
Okay. So how was making that transition, that big scary leap of faith, into being full-time with LooseHeadz, going from a full-time secure job into something, pursuing a passion, something you knew was going to positively impact people? How was that for you? How did that affect you mentally? And how did you go around handling that yourself?
Yeah, so the last 15 months since Dave and I took that leap, it has been a roller coaster completely. It's been some really high highs and really low lows. And yeah, the first couple of weeks were really quite strange because you're sort of your own boss in a way. So that was really difficult. But also I think, missing the office. So I was in a job where I worked for Bristol Sport and got on with all the people there, and missing the people element and the connections, that was quite tricky because at the moment I work at home on my own, in my room, and I try and get out and about and do quite a lot of stuff and try and work in coffee shops at least once a week. And but yeah, I think it's been pretty difficult, and it's been a hell of a roller coaster journey in the last sort of 15 months.
Okay, but I've got a question for you. Do you practice what you preach?
So about 5 months ago, about 5-6 months ago, just before I moved from Bristol to London, it was, or sort of started that move. I went through a little bit of a mental health breakdown myself. I found it really, really difficult, and I bottled it up. So when you say, do you practice what you preach? I tell people in my job every single day to talk about their feelings and talk, if you're struggling, talk. And I didn't, kept it to myself, lived with a few of my mates, and, they were none the wiser. And then I'd sort of found myself, I'd actually found myself crying in my room, and really finding it difficult, more so around the imposter syndrome and sort of, is this going to work, thoughts racing through my head. So constant sort of few weeks, sort of like this grey cloud above my head, just wouldn't go away, and I just wasn't talking about it. So when I say, when you say, do you practice what you preach, I think I'm getting better at it, and I think we're all on a bit of a learning journey, I guess. But I've been quite lucky myself that I've never really had too many mental health wobbles. I had one at university, in first year, and then about 6 months ago. But once I started talking about it, once I started sharing, once I started sort of living in the moment as well, I think that's a big thing. The more it became a little bit normal. I think what I was doing as well is I was worrying about things that weren't necessarily going to happen, and the more that I shared it first with my mum, who was great, and my dad, and then sort of started talking to my housemates about it as well. But yeah, I think I'm getting better at it for sure.
I think worrying about things that aren't necessarily going to happen, I think that's a huge thing, because
Huge.
I think a lot of people do that. I know for one, that's something that I've struggled with a lot. But one quote that I heard or read was worrying is like suffering twice.
Yeah.
And that hit home, because it made me realize, right, well, if what I'm worrying about does happen, then not only have I actually had to go through that, but I've also suffered in my own imagination with it as well. And I think that really helped me in the sense that it's like, okay, what will be. So just live in the moment and try and take things for face value, because I can completely understand how with things with LooseHeadz, as they were picking up, you also started to think, right, but what about 6 months from now? How is that going to look? How am I going to keep it going? How am I going to keep it afloat? But it almost takes away then from the amazing things that you're achieving in the here and now and in the moment. And like you say, and I know you're working on that, and that's something you've definitely gotten better at. But when you look like the amount of amazing like brands, companies that you're working with, and that you've brought in to support LooseHeadz, to ultimately support the mission, which is to help the rugby community, is incredible.
Yeah, spot on. I think you're right with that quote that you mentioned there. One thing that probably led to, there was a couple of things that sort of led to that. I think, it's important to look to the future, but actually living in the moment and living in the now is so important. And one of the other things that actually, so we've got a business advisory group that sort of help us with various different things, help support guidance in the world of business and where LooseHeadz sits. One thing that I was given sort of as advice by some of the guys there is to stop taking so much on, so stop saying yes. And I think we've all sort of, we can all relate to that, can't we? But for me, I was sort of working on things where it wasn't necessarily, one, keeping the boat afloat, but two, making the boat go faster. And I think, some of those things might still be around in 6-12 months. It's just you don't need to worry about it right now. So I think that was a big learning for me as well. Stop saying yes to everything.
I think that is really hard, though. I think that's an actual skill, because especially when you're in the position where you started off, just gone full time, you've got really good intentions. Like, that is difficult, because you're like, I want to make sure this is successful. I don't want to let people down. But yeah, and it's definitely something I've learned over this last few months. Like, if you've got to think what's best for you in that moment, and if it's not something that's going to be best for you at that time, then yeah, it is okay to say no.
Yeah.
But I can completely resonate with like how hard that actually is.
100%.
It's really difficult, and to say yes to one thing, you have to say no to something else. And for me, like what you're saying, like the learning curve has to be like, what am I gonna be most grateful for saying yes to, and then trying to pick which road I go down, because ultimately you can get carried away, especially when things are going well, and you're like, okay, I need to stay on top of things, because I don't know if this opportunity is going to be there forever. So then you keep going yes, and then all of a sudden you get 6 months down the line, you're like, I've got too many yeses, and now I need to try and say no.
Obviously now you're saying that you're obviously in a bit better place, and from that, like, I know you mentioned that you live in a house with a group of guys. Like, what is that dynamic like now? Like, from that experience that you had, where you didn't speak out, now you do. Are you quite open as a group? I know we spoke about earlier where you watched that film,
The rom-com.
the rom-com film, and you're all crying on the sofa. Like, is that what the dynamic's like now? Because that is awesome.
They're gonna hate you for that.
I actually loved hearing that, because I was like, I could picture a group of guys crying on the sofa to this rom-com. Like, I literally love it.
I didn't think you were going to bring that up.
Of course, I literally said to him, that has been mentioned.
So yeah, it was Sunday night, and
We're all
this is what the podcast's for.
Strap in. So yeah, one of my mates, he wasn't. I'll give you the whole story. Why not?
Yeah.
We were looking through, as you do. You sit there on Netflix or Amazon or whatever it is, and you're just trying to find a film, especially a Sunday night film. You want it to be a really good one.
Don't want to be let down. Set you up for
You
the
know,
week.
you're
exactly.
there for the night, you know, you're
Yeah.
settling in, cozying
Yeah.
up on the sofa.
We were there for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. One of my mates was upstairs. He was like, no, I'm not coming down. I'm not coming down. We finally found a film that we all wanted to watch and shouted it up to the guy who wasn't coming down, David. And we were like, right, we're chucking on About Time, the rom-com. And he was like, he ran downstairs and he was like, yes, this is my favourite film. But we sat there and we watched it. And I like to say at the end, this is a weird thing, but I like to say at the end of a film, like, what are the 3 takeaways?
That is great.
I love that.
And we went through the takeaways of About Time, the rom-com.
How many of you was there watching this?
3 of us.
3 of you. You,
Yeah.
Fraser, and David.
No,
Who was
Hammer.
it? Hammer. Okay.
David. Fraser wasn't there. But yeah, and they were, we spoke about it just before, but live in the now, live in the
Yeah.
moment is one of the takeaways.
What were the other
Whilst
two?
you were all
I can't
crying
remember
over
what-
the
yeah,
film, was it?
we didn't cry, I don't think, but we were very, very close. And one of the lads, this is funny, but one of the lads was like, turn the lights off at the start of the film because he knew it was going to make him cry.
I know we're laughing about it though, but that is good. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice that you can be comfortable in that scenario, and like,
Yeah.
what men realistically are comfortable with being like, yeah, I'm crying at a rom-com. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't, in the society you live in or have lived in, it hasn't.
Yeah.
That's not the norm, but
Mhm.
that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I actually
Yeah.
loved it, and especially if that's how at the end you're like, oh, what are the takeaways, and you're having
Yeah.
that conversation, like, that's class.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because, you know, best mates will always take the piss out of each other, won't they? And you know, but that's the part of being a best mate. But I think those group of lads that I have, that I share things with, not just the guys that I live with, but a few of my other sort of home mates as well. I know that I can speak to them, and I know that anything that I say will be that they'll get it. They'll just get it. So I know that now. I know that I sort of bottled it up and didn't speak about it, but I know that even from I'm quite glad that I went through what I went through sort of 5-6 months ago, because it's made me step back. It's made me realise that I can talk about it. It's made me feel more comfortable with sharing it, and it's also because I run a mental health charity. I know what other people are going through as well, and that's the whole thing, isn't it? That whatever you're going through, you're never alone. There's always going to be someone else that's been through something similar. So 100%, I'm quite glad that I went through it, and I'm out the other side now.
We touched a bit on that in episode 1, of the things that, like, almost being glad that you go through hard things because of the things that you learn from it.
Yeah.
And like what you're saying there is, you've been through something really hard, but now you've been through it. 1, you know how to recognize if that's happening again. 2, you know how other people are feeling, and you can resonate with that a little. But also, I've forgotten part 3. Anyway,
But I think
Go back and listen,
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But
What
I
did we say
think,
about the-
like, in the moment when you're going through something really negative, you can't see. It's hard to see. Okay, 6 months me is gonna like grow from
yeah,
this negative, me. But I think when you do look back, like, you necessarily wouldn't change it because how much you've grown from it, and like, yeah, it's a really shitty time, but the positives and what you've grown from it, and like now, for your example, you're saying that you're more comfortable with speaking, you're trying to make the effort with being present and things like that, like, which before that experience wouldn't have been the case.
I remember part 3.
Okay, she goes.
So, the little piece about, I forgot it again.
Oh my god.
No, this is actually how my brain works. No, that's it. Yeah. People. No, it's gone again.
How on
It was
earth?
literally- this is how my brain works. Right. Yes. Understanding that you're not alone, and that there's other people that are going through the similar things, or that have been through similar things. That is a big focus point for this podcast. Is that we want.
She stole my line.
Should have read my mind then, Ffion, shouldn't you?
I was
You were
literally,
like
we
that.
are in sync.
But yes, just talking about things kind of help other people realize that what they're going through isn't, it's not something that they're going through alone. Ellie Boatman touched on that a lot, is that she didn't realize that there was other people going through the same feelings towards food and disordered eating, but actually speaking out about it has made her realize that how many other females, how many other people are going through the same thing, and that's powerful.
And I think especially around mental health, like, it is probably the most taboo topic there is. And I think people feel like they can be deemed as weak by speaking about it when it's not the case. You might feel it, but it's not. I think you're actually really goddamn strong if you've got the confidence to speak up, right? Like, I just would respect people more if by being able to be open and honest. And like Gwen said, that's the whole point of this podcast, to remind people that if someone at home was really struggling, is listening to this, to be like, okay, there are people like me, or there's people with it who are experiencing things like I am, then hopefully like people sharing experiences can be able to help somebody else.
Yeah. I think the other thing that helped me in a weird way is saying it out loud. Say, or like write it down. Like, why are you feeling like that? Why are you upset? Why are you sad? Because actually that really helps to sort of put it into context. What actually is getting you down? Because actually, it's that thing where, do you know what's actually up? So actually writing it down, talking about it, allows you to understand what is wrong.
Is that one of your coping strategies that you
I think so.
used?
Yeah. I think just saying it out loud, but saying it out to somebody. So you can say it out loud to a wall if you want, but
I suppose writing it down though, if you don't have the option to speak to someone, I think writing it down is probably a good start.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, just I mean, I picked up the phone, spoke to my mum, and she was like, I don't really know what to say to you right now, and I'm not very good at this, but together we can be like that. And I thought that was quite a nice, I just sort of, she said, what is up? Like, what, how are you feeling? And I just sort of said, I don't really know. But the more that I then got comfortable about it, I just sort of started to talk about it a little bit more, and little by little, and those little steps, isn't it, towards feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes it's important to understand that not everyone's going to have the answers, but just having someone there who you can feel supported by, I think that can make the whole difference. And sometimes you just need to be a soundboard, or for someone you just need to be used for someone to offload. So even if you're the person that isn't struggling, I think that's good to kind of take on board, to be like, if someone needs you, it's okay that you don't have the answers, but just listening sometimes is enough.
100%.
I've always struggled with that, actually, being the other person. If people ever came to me with like an issue or a problem, I would want to solve it, because I would be like, right, okay, how can I help this person? So, like, if it's someone I care about, I'm like, how do I help? How do I fix it? But like what you're saying, the reality is that sometimes we don't always have the answers. You've just got to be there and be that support system. And I think support plays a massive role with anyone that's going through a mental health struggle or mental ill health, is understanding and knowing your support system. And I think it can be hard, because for some people they may not know who that is, and I think that's tricky, because I think all three of us, that we have great people around us, and we're very fortunate to have great people around us to be that sounding wall and to bounce things off of. But I don't know, I'm interested to hear your guys' opinion. What would be your guys' advice if someone feels like they are really alone, and who is that sounding board for them? Where can they go? Where do they start?
I think in terms of like, just coming back to the LooseHeadz part, that is essentially what you've just said there. That's what we're trying to make that mental health lead, that LooseHeadz. So in a rugby setting, you might feel alone, but you've got that mental health lead, that LooseHead within your rugby club, and we're not asking that person to be an expert in mental health. We're giving them the mental health training, so they've got a basic knowledge and understanding and education into what is mental health and how to spot signs, but they've also got those skills to be able to start conversations, but also listen, so the listening skills as well. So in a rugby setting, it's 100%, that's where we want to get to. We want to have every rugby club with someone or people. It doesn't have to be one person, it can be a few, because we know that rugby clubs are disjointed places at the best of times. Having that group of people that are readily available to just go and offload to. So that's it in a rugby setting. In terms of your question, I think what we said before about writing it down, I think that's quite good. There's obviously quite a few on our help and support page on the website. There's a few phone lines and text lines that you can sort of, I know some people are a bit hesitant, but just talking about it, like I said before, is it can help 100%, get it off the chest.
Yeah.
And I think as well, think about places or things that make you happy, or where you've been most happiest. So if for example, I really enjoy going to a coffee shop and eating a cookie. Okay.
Lidl's cookie.
Go to Lidl's. Go to the middle aisle.
Middle.
But I think things like that are really important, because even if it gives you a 10% lift in your day, when you're feeling as low as you are, that can make such a difference. So definitely thinking of times or places or things that make you feel better in yourself or give you that lift, I think can be, a real game changer to how you feel.
One of the biggest game changers in my own mental health, especially over the last nearly a year now with injuries and stuff, is one, living in the moment, and two, taking a lot of joy in the little things. So there would literally be days, like a couple of weeks post-op, and I would just make a coffee, go and sit outside, and it would be like 15 degrees, sunny, and I'm like, this is as good as it gets. Like, and it sounds silly, but like when everything around you seems like it's going against you, something like that feels so nice because you're completely in control of this moment. And it just made me think, if I do this every morning, then no matter what happens during the day, I'm happy and I'm content because I've had that moment to myself. And it's like,
that's really nice.
It actually then sort of grew. And the more I started to do that with things like going and sitting outside for coffee, I actually started to notice it around me. And another one of my favorite quotes is, what you appreciate appreciates. And that essentially means the more you look at something for the joy in the small things and you appreciate something, the more you're going to see that around you in day-to-day life. And that actually has completely changed my perspective and has played a big role in actually enjoying the last year of injured times.
Oh God, I can resonate with that so much. Gosh, the place I'm currently in at the moment, I feel like I'm running out of positivity. Like, I feel this last few months I've really tried to be like positive and like just being realistic and like it is what it is mentality. But getting to the point now where I'm like, I don't know how much positivity I have left. But it is kind of just like yesterday I had some bad news regarding my rehab and stuff. I'm having to have another operation, which is not ideal. But I was like, okay, I'm going to take the evening to be sad about it. And Gwen was like, it's okay to be sad. Like, I think, especially in these last few months, we've kind of had this, not pressure, but I suppose it's kind of like to just be okay with what's going on, And Gwen was like, it's okay to be sad about it. I'm like, I know, and I don't want to be sad about it. She's like, but this is okay. This is something you can be sad about. And I think it's the whole process. I've just kind of been like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to cope with what I'm going through? And yeah, I took last night to be sad, and then I was like, tomorrow's a new day, and then fresh start, and then it is what it is.
It's your favourite sentence, isn't it?
Yeah,
Say it how it is, and it is what it is.
But I do think, like, I suppose it's hard if you can be in a kind of a dark place mentally, but the last few months, I know I've spoken about it a lot, but how I thought I'd feel going through what I have recently has obviously been different because I just felt I got complete control over it. And I feel I could have allowed myself to go down a slippery slope, but I knew I didn't want that for myself. So I kind of tried to find the strength to be like, I have complete control over how I feel and how I react and respond to stuff. And then like on the back of what you're saying, Gwen, like I tried to transfer that into being actually the best year rather than the worst. Like doing what I can do, controlling what I can control, and okay, what can I do rather than what I can't. I think that has really been a massive mindset shift for me. Otherwise, I think if I wasn't like that, I think I would have been in a really, really dark place.
You got anything to add on that? Cool.
I just wanted to ask you really, following on, obviously we spoke a lot about your LooseHeadz success, but what is something that you're really proud of?
Oh.
Sorry, that's quite deep.
That is, what am I quite proud of?
Well, I know you've had awesome success because obviously currently, if everyone, you want to zoom in on this, we're currently wearing a LooseHeadz times Vodafone tee. Obviously, Vodafone are our podcast sponsor, who are bloody incredible, may I just add. I don't know if you wanted to touch on a bit of your new partnership.
100%, yeah. That is a very, very proud moment. It's been sort of a lot of hard work, but yeah, last week we announced a partnership with Vodafone, who will be giving out 5G SIM cards to all of our partner clubs in the UK for free. So free connectivity for our mental health leads. But yeah, it's been like just seeing that on the shirts, the LooseHeadz.
Zoom in.
The LooseHeadz logo next to the Vodafone logo. It's a super proud moment for us, and it's pretty surreal, to be honest, to be able to have them jump up on board onto our journey and be part of that with us. And the guys there, as you know, because they're a sponsor of this podcast, they are super supportive and just really great people that really believe it and really know how to grow rugby and how to grow the game, and they're doing all the right things. And couldn't be prouder of seeing those two logos next to each other.
They actually are also our Wales sponsor, and I just think that I think you can find with companies sometimes that it can be kind of like a tick box to kind of, support something. But since we started working with them, they have literally been incredible. Like, they've come in with such incredible intentions. By the way, they're not paying me to say this. Like, I'm saying this out of my own opinion. Like, they've come in with such good intentions. Like, they know, how important it is to support something like the women's game.
Yeah.
Like, for example, at the end of every Six Nations game, a player of the match won tickets to Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And Vodafone extended the invite to long-term injured girls. I actually came out of my ACL op to a text from my team manager saying, I know what you just happened. I hope you're okay, but something to pick you up.
That's really nice.
Vodafone would like to invite you to Wimbledon. I was high as a kite. I was like, oh my God.
How was
I got
that?
to Wimbledon. Woo!
How was Wimbledon?
Oh, it was so good.
So
So
good. I felt very,
good.
very underdressed, I must say. I was like, what does one wear to Wimbledon?
We do not fit in.
And then when we got there, I was like, okay. And we went past someone really famous, and I don't know who it was. Do you remember on the bus? And everyone, there was cameras everywhere. They were like, oh, there's cameras here for us guys. No, it's for them.
No,
it was a crazy experience, wasn't it?
It was, but it was. And I think they didn't need to do that.
No.
And I just, so grateful. But again, then, we went to Vodafone with the idea and the why behind why we want to do this podcast. And they didn't, doubt it for a second. Like, they really got on board with it straight away. They said how much it really aligned with what Vodafone as values are. And like we're just so grateful that there's a company as big as that really care about what's important at the moment. And they've just been amazing.
I think what Vodafone get is that people understand people, and like people buy into people, and it comes back to the connection. And we are connected by Vodafone.
But like, got that in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
On fire today.
Try my
What's
best.
that word? Begins with an S.
What? Slay.
Slay. That was slay.
What's that word?
What's that
Slay.
word? Begins with S. Slay.
Nice, bro.
God, yes.
God, yes.
Right. Anyway, like the connection bit is that if you look at things on a macro scale, is that a word? Macro, like a big scale.
Micro?
Like micro's
it's
coming
big.
next. If you look at things on a big scale, you can just see like money and companies. But if you actually break it all down, it all comes back to people, and it all comes back to people having connections with each other and understanding one another on a more deeper and intimate level. I think that's what, as a company, Vodafone just get that, and it's really good.
100%. I think our conversation started with Vodafone probably like 18 months ago now. Obviously they're doing quite a lot in the rugby space already. They've sponsored you girls for quite a long time, and they completely get it. I think there's quite a lot of synergy, quite a lot of crossover between what we're doing as a mental health charity and what they're doing with keeping people connected and catching up with your mates, that sort of thing. So I think it's a partnership that makes a lot of sense. We're dead proud to be sort of working together now to hopefully make a sort of a lasting impact on the world of rugby as well. So thank you to the guys at Vodafone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Vodafone. One thing I did want to touch on as well is the 7 steps to mental fitness.
Yeah.
Can you touch on those? I'm going to challenge you.
The 5 ways to wellbeing. Go for that one instead.
Can you not remember the extra 2?
Yeah, the sleep and nutrition, but
yeah, okay, don't want to talk about them now.
I feel like there's
my
more to
favourite
say
things.
about. Oh, really?
Sleep
And
nutrition. And sleep and pastries. What could you want?
Sleep
Right.
for me is number 1.
No,
Put
you
that
can
on the top
touch
of
on the
list.
5. We can do the 5.
Do you
Go
want to
for
go
it.
again then, or do you want me to do the 7?
No, it's fine.
Go for
This is
7.
uncut. We're not going uncut. but
That
we're
was
going-
great content, personally.
What
Go on.
was?
Yeah.
That was.
Oh, this. Yeah, go for it.
7 steps to mental fitness.
Yeah.
So 7 steps to mental fitness, something that we at LooseHeadz sort of promote quite heavily. Things like sort of connect, be active, keep learning, take notice, give, and then nutrition and sleep as well. So 7 things that we can all do, we can all work on, not necessarily all 7 at once, but if you just, mix and match, if you like, that sort of gets you in a good state of mental fitness. And just to delve a little bit deeper, I guess some of the things that I do personally connect. Obviously, we were talking before about watching rom-coms with your mates, but just catching up with my mates, try and do it quite a lot, especially with my mates back up at home and for proper home and up north.
You haven't become like a London. I'm not going to say
London boy.
No, and I'm not going to. So
sure?
none of that. You've
got the gilet.
I have
You're
got
halfway
the gilet.
there.
Yeah. Just need to go to bed.
And you're in diddle now.
Watch your mic.
That was karma.
We spoke about it before, but taking notice, so living in the moment, is something that I'm trying to do a lot more of. Something that previously I've probably been quite bad at, either looking backwards and looking at the past or looking forwards. Probably doesn't help too much. Obviously, it's important to plan and be and prepare for what's coming, but actually just living in the moment a bit more. And then the other thing is obviously like give without the expectation of receipt. I think whilst running a rugby mental health charity, giving back and going into rugby clubs, seeing just chatting to people. I think that's a big thing. We went and did this thing with Vodafone. Gwen, you were there not too long ago at Old Pens Rugby Club, and I love just chatting to people and just hearing their own stories and their own sort of journeys within rugby and how rugby has helped them and supported them. And I think that's really quite nice, and that helps me in my own mental health as well. So there's sort of 3 things that I work on, but they're the 7 steps to mental fitness. Yeah,
those are the same, like similar types of things that I like to do to sort of keep my own mental health in check as well. I think that's been a learning for me, is that you don't need to necessarily wait for it to decline, for your mental health to decline, before you then start putting in those steps to mental fitness. It's something that can be an ongoing thing, in the same way that we go to the gym, we go and train on the rugby field to get better at rugby and to get stronger. You still need to train your mental health in the same way.
To be fair, when I was younger, oh my gosh, my mental health was absolutely appalling. Like, I was really struggling when I was younger. But what kind of like saved me in a sense was rugby. Like, I even was like medicated and stuff, and I actually started like coming off my medication purely because I was playing rugby more. And like, it was a time where I was kind of transitioning from college and stuff, and I was starting to get into like regional and like Wales age grade. The more I was doing it, that was like the drug for me, if that makes sense. And I can remember like having a conversation with my family, and I was like, I don't actually feel like I need to take them anymore. And my mum's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I feel all right. And then because I was literally rugby, like what rugby gave me was a sense of like the community, like it's such a safe space, like the endorphins I was getting from doing something I was really enjoying, kind of helped me in that different way. I didn't feel like I needed to be taking something else, because like I said, like rugby became that kind of drug for me. And like I said, there's always kind of been like a why for me, because it literally took me out of some dark places, but I just think that it's such a powerful place where literally just going out and training for an hour, and then by the time you come off the field you feel like a completely different person. So yeah, I just love that partnership and that connectivity. I think is just incredible, really.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. One question I do have for you actually is, how did you come up with the name?
I can't take credit for that. It was Dave. And I can't remember what it was. It was a conversation a few weeks after our initial conversation in a coffee shop in a gym called Total Fitness in Wilmslow.
Shout out.
Shout out. And I can't remember what it was. We saw something else which was like 4 words, and we condensed it into LooseHeadz, and I can't remember what those 4 words were, but because obviously the connection to LooseHead prop and then LooseHead with mental health, I think it fits quite nicely. And then the posts as well actually make out an L and a H.
I did not know that for so long.
I've only just learned that, everyone.
Yeah.
My brain
I was
gone,
like, it's just a
boom.
post. And then it was when we were talking about tattoos months ago,
Yeah.
remember that time 6 months ago when you said we were going to get a tattoo? It was around then. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's space in between
my brain's just gone poof.
It's one of those, do you know some logos where you look at it and there's like a special meaning behind it?
Yeah.
Like the Amazon, and there's like an arrow, and then the FedEx, and there's like a little hidden arrow in there.
No.
Sorry, but her brain is going...
I don't know these
I only know
things.
that.
It'll be there one day on the same.
All right.
It will be on a logos quiz. Whose logos
On
is
the
it?
logos
LooseHeadz.
quiz, Sporkle logos quiz. LooseHeadz will be on there.
Oh, goodness.
What is something then, okay, that you would want people to take out of today, listening to what LooseHeadz is about and your own personal experience? Like, what would you want people to take?
Yeah, I
What you
think
said.
so. I'll say sort of three things. One is the sort of the thing that I've kept saying, but it's also what pulled me out of that sort of hole that I was in with my mental health wobble a few months ago. But living in the moment is obviously one, and focusing on the here and now. The other thing that I mentioned before that our business advisory group sort of advised me to do was stop saying yes to everything, or if it's not going to help you right now, just you can say no. It's like the permission to say no, isn't it? And the third thing is another thing actually that I've been given as advice by the business advisory group, and it's to celebrate the small wins. So pointing at me.
No,
No,
go
it's
on, you
like,
go,
you
then
go.
we'll go.
Celebrating the small wins. I have been quite bad in the past at just sort of getting something done or over the line and then just saying, right, what's next, or just onto the next project, and actually just focusing on either the small wins or the big wins and actually celebrating them in the right way, whatever's best for you. But just take a step back and actually realize what you've done, the impact that you're having, and that goes a long way for me. It's again something that I'm working on, something that I'm not the best at, but
Same.
Sometimes I think though that's the importance of having the people around you to help you do that, because things like we're never as kind to ourselves as we are to our best friend, and we've touched
I know
on
you're
that
gonna
plenty
say
of
you're gonna
times.
say you wouldn't say to your
No,
friend
well,
what you'd say to
no,
yourself.
Yes, there is that, but also like sometimes it genuinely takes people to take time out of the day and to stop and be like, just to let you know what you've just achieved is incredible, or what you're achieving is incredible, because we can be very critical on ourselves, and like you're saying, like, what's next? How can it? Because we just look at growing and getting better, but the actual stopping and appreciating what you've done, like, I think it's because it's deemed as maybe arrogance or that kind of thing if you're very celebratory of yourself and you're like, oh yeah, I've done well at this. But actually, no, take the time out to appreciate what you've done and the hard work that you've put into something and getting something over the line. Like, it's been huge in our rehab. Like, it can be easy to be like, right, well, it's 10, 12 months till I play again. Well, yeah, but you just learned to walk again, and that's a pretty big deal.
It's the helicopter view, isn't it? It's like LooseHeadz. Coming back to LooseHeadz, we live within LooseHeadz every single day. For 6 years, Dave and I have been living. It's like living with growing up with a small child, isn't it? It's like a baby. Like, you never see the baby grow up. So having that helicopter view and people around you that offer that helicopter view allows you to celebrate those small or big wins. So yeah, something that hopefully I'm getting better at, and sounds like you two are as well.
I pulled so many
Work in
faces. Cheers, Gwen. I pulled so many faces doing that because I'm terrible for it, and something Gwen keeps having to go at me at. But I think my issue is I got this fear of failure, and like, so that's why I'm constantly striving for what's next, because I'm like, I don't want to settle for the bottom thing.
Nodding.
Yeah, and like that's why I'm like you always have to remind me, like, celebrate, and I am totally on board with celebrating it, but I'm just hard for it because my brain just like next, achieve,
Thank you,
achieve,
next.
push it. Yeah,
Next.
and I think then when you do step back and then you like do look back and review, the last 2 weeks or months, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, flipping heck. But I agree, it just takes someone else to tell you. I'm like, shut up, Gwen. Now it's not the time.
Sorry,
No, but
just trying to help.
but I think as well, was also what I want people to take from this also is being the person that supports the person that's struggling, if that makes sense. So knowing, okay, what are the best strategies for being that supporter? Do you know what I mean? And I think, like I said earlier, being that listening board for someone, it's okay, you don't have to have all the answers, but I think understanding that the difference you could make by just listening to someone, or even just messaging someone to be like, hey, I'm thinking of you, or hey, I'm just checking in on you, can make such a difference. It will take 10 seconds out of your day, and you could literally change someone's day by doing it.
100% agreed. Deep breath.
there anything else you want to talk about?
Do you want to check the list?
I am.
There's a list.
Well, it's that thing that I sent you before.
Yeah, we've pretty much covered everything. We said stigma in rugby and sport.
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay, what do you say?
The question, because that'll get us talking for probably another 10 minutes, I would say.
Yeah. So we have a closing tradition where where the previous guest will leave the next guest a question. So our previous guest has left you a question. What does happiness look like to you?
Do I get to know who the previous guest is?
Will that affect your answer?
No, it won't.
Okay. Ellie Boatman,
Who is also a LooseHeadz ambassador.
she is indeed, has left you.
There you go.
But she didn't know that you were the next guest.
Yeah.
So it's quite
Okay.
funny how, not funny, that's probably the wrong word
But
to
also,
use.
we've touched a lot on happiness.
Yes,
this
but it's
episode.
interesting how she's left you that question, sorry. No, like, you know, she didn't know who it was. It's quite relevant.
So what does happiness
Look like to
you?
Yeah.
Tricky question. I think we've touched on quite a lot of things that, you know, what does happiness look like, or that sort of topic during the whole podcast. But I think one thing that, apart from Liverpool winning and 3 points going,
And Wales winning.
and
don't forget
Wales
about that,
winning,
thank you.
yeah, of course. For me, so my uncle Ted's, he was diagnosed. That's why I wear this band every day since he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and cruel, horrible disease that has no cure. So you're on a deathbed, and for me, he taught me quite a lot. So he was the bubbliest person. He always had a smile on his face. He was just an amazing character. And I think he taught me a few things. And I actually wrote a blog whilst I was at university. I actually wrote a blog.
Get the blog up.
Yeah.
Get the blog up. Get it out.
I'll get the blog out.
Get the blog out.
But I wrote this blog, and within the blog it had so the title of the blog is "There Are Too Many Things We Take for Granted in Life, and it's only when you lose them you realise what it's all about." That's actually a quote that Juice van der Westhausen said, who was a player for South Africa, scrum half, who had motor neuron disease. And I wrote at the bottom, sort of 3 or 4 lessons, and that's what I think we could all do a little bit more of to be a bit more happy. So I know I do it, and I've done it since sort of my uncle was diagnosed. And the first one is, funnily enough, live for now. So live in the moment, which is what we've talked about quite a lot. The second one is never give up. So if you've got a goal, or you've got something that you want to do, what's the point in giving up? Keep up the good fight is something that actually Juice van der Westhausen said to my uncle on Twitter. They had a bit of a Twitter exchange. That's why I put it in there, just that those words, keep up the fight. But I think, you know, it doesn't matter what you're going for, whether you're going through you're going for a job, or you're going through a mental health battle, like, never give up. I think that's something that really struck with me when talking about my uncle. And then the third one is the title of it, but it's don't take things for granted. That was actually one of the lessons in or the takeaways in About Time as well. It's
the old rom-com.
Oh, it comes back to that.
Always comes back to the rom-coms. But I think don't take things for granted and celebrate the small things, which again we've talked about quite a lot at the moment. And they're 3 things. The other one is, you know, smile a bit more and laugh a bit more. I love laughing. I absolutely love laughing. I love
It's
smiling.
infectious.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I think,
yes.
God yes.
Oh God, yes.
God yes.
We really need to tell people why we put these ones.
Give the context.
The
behind
God
that.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Really?
Just go on.
I'm gonna get right. So me and my housemate David, we absolutely love the In-Betweeners. Absolutely love the In-Betweeners. Who doesn't love the In-Betweeners? But we take it a little bit too far. We absolutely love the In-Betweeners.
You're weird if you don't like the In-Betweeners.
Yeah,
Correct. And there's a scene where Simon and Carly are talking, and Carly says, Carly says, it's not even funny. It's one of the smallest things.
No, but it is
but
funny.
It's because we've watched it so much. But Carly says, Simon, can I ask you a favour? And he goes, yes, God, yes. And then she says, yeah, you don't even know what it is. Oh, yeah. And she says, can I come over to yours and revise sociology? Yes, God, yes. Come over now. Come over now. Come over anytime.
Well, I can't come over now,
Well, I can't
Simon.
come over now, Simon. No, of course not. But yeah, that's why we've all been saying, God, yes.
Oh my God.
See, there we
God,
go.
yes.
Watch the in-betweeners. There we go. What does
Yeah.
happiness look
Yeah,
I love the
yeah.
between us, to be fair.
It is so funny. So
When
funny.
we went to, I did my PGC, the first day, they made us, like, as groups, as, like, you know, break the ice. We had to do, like, dances together. And my group decided to do the in-betweener dance. Literally, so we just came into this sports hall doing the in-betweener
Can we do it now?
Yeah, if you want.
Watch the mic. Watch the mic.
That could be our closing.
Thanks for coming, guys. Till next time. Oh,
It's the
See, there we are.
last one where he's like that.
All of that came from God, yes.
God,
And look how
yes.
much we've just laughed.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
That is happiness.
God, yes.
Can that be the name of the episode?
Yeah.
God, yes.
God, yes.
Well,
Come over now.
Thank you. Oh God. Thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed the episode. I think it'll be amazing for people to listen to this, and I think the impact that you and LooseHeadz are having on the world is literally amazing. And I hope you give yourself credit on, like I say, the great work that you're doing. So thank you very much for sharing your amazing experience with us. We really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed getting into it, talking about some things that obviously difficult to talk about, but loved it. Keep up the good fight with the podcast. Congratulations on the Vodafone again. And
Thank you too.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And just quickly, where can we find LooseHeadz? We'll leave it all in the show notes below.
Yep, LooseHeadz with a Z because we think we're quite cool, but
Thank
in
you.
reality we're not. We're not cool at all. LooseHeadz with a Z, looseheadz.co.uk, and you can find us on all social channels. And you can buy some stash if you like.
Who doesn't have stash? Last thing from us, please follow us on Spotify. We've been told by our producer to push this. Follow us, because if you listen, we would like you to follow us. Thank you.
And if you want to leave a review, that would be nice as well.
5-star review. Thank you very much. Until next time.
God,
remember,
yes.
Keep saying it how it is, people.
the end. Oh, good God.
Well done.
Right.
Oh my God. That was funny, man.